Look at the time. It's time for Legal AF After Dark. MAGA voters are having a bigly time having buyers and voters remorse about having selected Donald Trump, with new polling out there that over 60 to 70% of them don't want any aspect of Donald Trump's MAGA agenda to be implemented. What's going to happen next? We break it all down on Legal AF on the full-length podcast. Take a listen. Wall Street Journal just came out with a poll. Most of the voters for Donald Trump don't want him to implement his MAGA agenda. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And this is in a Rupert Murdoch controlled paper. 60% don't want him to gut civil service and civil servants. 60% don't want him to eliminate the Department of Education. 82% oppose any attempt by Trump to gain more power over federal spending. 70% don't want him taking over Greenland, and an equal amount for the Panama Canal or Canada. The 65% don't want him to end birthright citizenship in our Constitution. Not that he necessarily could. I mean, when you look at, and the equal number don't want Elon Musk to have any kind of power or control over the government, which begs the question, why did this group vote for him? And the voter remorse, and you've done a number of hot takes on it on Midas Touch Network. I've done some on Legal AF as well. The buyer remorse is strong here coming into this indoor inauguration to try to avoid the small crowd problem that he often has. And it just shows me that we are, one of the takeaways, because it was a Murdoch-owned paper, was, and the Democrats and their brand are in shambles. I'm not so sure about that. And every time we talk about something that Joe Biden did to empty the tank right before the inauguration, and people would be wondering, well, why is he suing Elon Musk with the SEC? And why is he doing this or that, or setting this policy or that policy? Because everything that Joe Biden does to build a wall, if you will, everything he does, Donald Trump has to spend political capital, resources, and time and energy to undo, or try to undo it, and then explain to the American people where the Democrats can use it as an X-ray machine and say, see, look what he's doing. He's commuting that sentence. He's pardoning that guy. Oh, most of the people in the Wall Street Journal poll do not want the Jan 6 people pardoned by a large majority. So every time he does something like that, it sets up the Democrats properly and their brand, our brand, for the midterms and beyond, because we're going to make him justify every living thing that he's going to do. I mean, I don't know what part of MAGA is going to be thrilled to see in whatever the bleachers are going to be at the inauguration. Instead of having the Jan 6 choir surrounding him, it's all oligarchs, billionaire, where family would normally go, oligarchs, Facebook, Apple, Disney, the president of TikTok, the vice president of China. Is this what MAGA woke up and wanted for the president? I mean, he ran on a populist message, but that was just to get elected. In reality, he is a billionaire that surrounds himself with other billionaires and only cares about the billionaire economy and not the economy of the average person. And the sooner the MAGA voter and the people that supported Donald Trump find that out, the better we're going to be as we re-message for the midterms.
It's why we have to remain very focused on the key issues here. Look, when Donald Trump gave his campaign speeches, 90% of the stuff he said was crazy, insane. You can mock it, make fun of it, take it seriously, though, because it's dangerous stuff. But 10% of the stuff he would say would be these false promises. The media would ignore the crazy stuff. And then when you would watch your local news, which was owned by Sinclair or Fox or other major networks that would own or the corporate media that would own the local news, they would reiterate the promises. And the promises were, on day one, there will be peace in Ukraine. On day one, there will be lower prices for eggs. On day one, we will make housing affordable. On day one, there's going to be so much jobs, you're not even going to know what to do with those jobs. And then during the transition, he was asked, so how are you going to lower prices? He goes, I can't do that. It's very hard to lower prices. Okay, well, how are you going to end the war in Ukraine on day one? Keith Kellogg, his special envoy, goes, oh, we can't do that. It's going to take at least 100 days for us to, try to figure that out. Donald, should people invest in the stock market. What do you think about that? I mean, he was asked that when he visited the New York Stock Exchange, a softball question by Jim Cramer. Should people invest in the stock market? I thought you're going to make it so big and so great that people aren't going to know what to do with the stock market. And his response was, I don't know. I mean, I think if there's a dip, people could be hurt. And so while he's making those statements about the stock market, we're going to talk in a moment about this meme coin, which he's claiming is not actually a form of security, but that it's just showing your affection and love for the letters TRUMP and the $ symbol. And that's why you're doing it, not because you believe it will have any value. And he wants to do that because he wants to disclaim any liability from the drastic fluctuations in the prices if people get hurt and his own supporters get hurt. So he was telling people to be wary of the market, but then he releases a meme coin. And so when Donald Trump's out there saying, I'm going to make the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, okay, it's ridiculous, it's stupid, but what we have to be careful of is saying, that's so outrageous, and then devote a day to talking about that. We can't do that. We have to focus on, okay, what about Ukraine? What about lower prices? What about the price of eggs? What about the price of groceries? What about affordable housing? What about these jobs you promised? It's our job to be very focused on that. And that's what we're going to do.
And last thing, Ben, and hold him accountable and don't be scared by it, but hold him accountable on this network and in the work that you and I do and the other contributors do. And the deportation raids start on Tuesday in Chicago and or in New York, led by Holman. It's not speaking truth to power. It's being rigorous in our analysis, our commentary, and calling it out here as a community. And be ready for it, because that's going to go horribly, both on the impact on the economy and on our human dignity. It's not just the economy. It's like, do we want to live in a society where people are being chased out of hard-working jobs, where this is a little known fact that the Republicans don't talk about. Undocumented people that work for a living in this country, because that's what they want. They want the American dream. They're here not to commit crimes. It's a very small percentage, smaller than the percentage of Americans that commit crimes, including violent crimes. They want to have a life and a better life for their children, a lot of which are already U.S. citizens. They pay $60 billion with a B dollars in taxes every year, the undocumented. And that's why in that Wall Street Journal poll, I was not surprised when 70% of the people are against these raids, and they're against throwing out anybody but criminals. Now, if they've been here a long period of time, they want them to stay and have a path towards some sort of dignified process. But we gotta call it out. It's not like I slapped my forehead like, oh fuck, Tuesday after the inauguration is when these raids are going to start in New York and in Chicago. No, we're going to be here resisting it, talking about it, examining it, and where we can support the lawsuits that are going to be filed off of it at that intersection of law and politics. Welcome back. That's a clip from a full-length podcast, 5 years in the making. We call it Legal AF. If you didn't know why, now you know. It's every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesdays with Karen Friedman, Nick Nifolo, and me. Saturdays with Ben Meiselas and me. And then we do hot takes like this about every hour right here on the Legal AF YouTube channel and on the Midas Touch channel. Now, if you know all about Legal AF, you're already part of our community. We really appreciate you being here. And thank you. Take that clip. Help us continue to grow organically our pro-democracy independent audience. We don't have a marketing budget. We are building this network with our bare hands. We are people-powered Legal AFers and Midas Mighty powered. So until my next hot take and my next podcast, Legal AF here on YouTube or on any place you can get Legal AF as an audio podcast, I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.